everyone, my name is Leonie from SMA Negeri 1 Tanjung Pinang. I'm very grateful to get the chance to continue my study in university with a great quality such as UIB. UIB expands my horizon and gives me a chance to study abroad. I'm accepted for Cemerlang Scholarship, which is a scholarship for prospective students who have academic and non-academic achievements. This scholarship waives the tuition fee for 7 semesters and gives a job placement in UIB for prospective students. Therefore, I can study in Law Science Department while I'm working, so I can develop my social network in my future. For me, UIB is a great place to be, so let's join us.
Hello everyone, my name is Leonie, an alumnus of SMA Harapan Utama Batam. At first, I didn't believe that there are universities that give full scholarships to prospective students. Moreover, every prospective scholarship recipient also has the opportunity to get a job placement. Of course, my doubt went away after I applied and got accepted at UIB with a major in accounting. I got awarded with Cemerlang Scholarship, which is a scholarship for prospective students who have academic or non-academic achievements. This scholarship waived my tuition for 7 semesters and gave me the opportunity to work at the same time. Therefore, now I can study while working in UIB. This experience is certainly valuable and gives me more networking opportunities in the future. So, let's join us for a better future.
Welcome to Universitas International Batam or UIB. We are proud and honored to introduce UIB to you. Established in year 2000, UIB is a newly private university, but it has tremendous potential. Located in Batam City, about 20 kilometers southern part of Singapore and Malaysia, UIB is a campus with adequate infrastructures to support excellent teaching and learning processes such as library, laboratories, sport hall, dormitories, etc. UIB has many departments with high quality standards, research activity, community service, and market and industrial collaboration. In accordance with the vision and mission of UIB, we will develop UIB as an international quality university and foster graduates who are able to encounter dynamic global changes. Thus, all stakeholders will be able to acknowledge the potential and benefit of UIB as a center for the development of science, technology, art, and cultures in reinforcing Indonesian human resource development. Critics and suggestions are welcome for our university. Thank you.
I am someone who enjoys traveling and seeing new places. I am from France. When I had the chance to study and live in Indonesia, especially in Batam, I was very excited. Personally, the meaning of study is not only reading a book or memorizing every lesson, but trying to be able to explore your surrounding in order to grow your knowledge.
UIB, as one of the best universities in Kepulauan Riau province, gives me such a big opportunity to learn more about civil engineering and also to learn Indonesian language and culture. I want to challenge myself and experience how life is when you are not in your own country. My first impression when coming here is the cleanliness and friendliness of its people. The relationship between the staff and students is strong as well. I can see that the facilities provided is very convenient, and even if it's my first time coming here, I can feel that I can adapt to this place pretty well.
My name is Leonie from SMA Negeri 1 Tanjung Pinang. I'm very grateful to get the chance to continue my study in a university with a great quality such as UIB. UIB expands my horizon and gives me a chance to study abroad. I'm accepted for Cemerlang Scholarship, which is a scholarship for prospective students who have academic and non-academic achievements. This scholarship waives the tuition fee for 7 semesters and gives a job placement in UIB for prospective students. Therefore, I can study in Law Science Department while I'm working, so I can develop my social network in my future. For me, UIB is a great place to be, so let's join us.
Hello everyone, my name is Vioni, an alumnus of SMA Harapan Utama Batam. At first, I didn't believe that there are universities that give full scholarships to prospective students. Moreover, every prospective scholarship recipient also has the opportunity to get a job placement. Of course, my doubt went away after I applied and got accepted at UIB with a major in accounting. I got awarded with Cemerlang Scholarship, which is a scholarship for prospective students who have academic or non-academic achievements. This scholarship waived my tuition for 7 semesters and gave me the opportunity to work at the same time. Therefore, now I can study while working in UIB. This experience is certainly valuable and gives me more networking opportunities in the future. So, let's join us for a better future.
Is my voice audible? Is my voice audible? Good morning, everyone. Before we officially begin today's conference, may I kindly share a few technical reminders. We kindly ask all participants to keep your microphone muted throughout the event to ensure clear audio quality. You are also encouraged to turn on your camera and use the official virtual background provided as part of our conference etiquette. At the moment, the registration session is still ongoing. We kindly invite all participants and presenters to ensure that you have successfully registered and that your audio and video settings are properly adjusted. Please make yourself comfortable and we will officially begin the conference shortly. Thank you. The event will now begin. Good morning, distinguished rector, honorable keynote speakers, respected moderator, presenters, participants, ladies and gentlemen from various countries. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Warm greetings to you all. On behalf of Universitas Internasional Batam, it is truly an honor and a pleasure to welcome you to the 6th CoNeScINTech 2026 Conference on Business, Social Science, and Technology. This international conference serves as a platform for academics, researchers, practitioners, and students to exchange ideas, foster collaboration, and explore innovative solutions towards sustainable and inclusive development. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Dukup Opaton Pardede, and it is my honor to serve as the Master of Ceremony for today's conference. To begin this conference with blessings and guidance, let us open the event with a prayer. May I kindly invite everyone to pray according to their respective beliefs. Let us pray. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the next agenda is the welcoming remarks from the Rector of Universitas Internasional Batam. It is my great honor to invite Dr. Iskandar Itan to deliver his welcoming remarks. Dr. Iskandar Itan, the screen is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning. Thank you all for being here today. It is my honor to acknowledge the presence of the following esteemed individuals. The first one is Associate Professor Dr. Nur Ezan Rahmat from University Technology Mara, Malaysia. And then Professor Dr. Insinyur Andi Irfan Rifai from Universitas Internasional Batam. Profesor Dr. Dewa Gede Sudika Mangku from Universitas Pendidikan Ganesha, Indonesia. Profesor Rina Sahriani Sahrula, PhD from Universitas Internasional Batam. Associate Professor Stefani Ayuning Suwarlan, PhD from Universitas Internasional Batam. Muhammad Bahrul Ulum, LLM, PhD candidate from Queensland University of Technology, and all distinguished guests, lecturers, students, participants, and other contributors whose names we may not be able to mention one by one. First and foremost, let us give thanks to God Almighty for His blessing, which have enabled us to gather here for the 6th Conference on Business, Social Science, and Technology, or we call it the 6th CoNeScINTech 2026, where we come together to exchange knowledge and learn from one another. It is both an honor and a privilege to welcome you all to this important conference on strengthening governance, accountability, and technology advancement toward sustainable and inclusive development. On behalf of Universitas Internasional Batam, I extend our warmest greetings and sincere appreciation for your presence and participation. In today's rapidly evolving global landscape, the intersection of governance, accountability, and technological innovation has never been more critical. Nations and institutions alike are being challenged to not only grow, but to grow responsibly, ensuring that development is sustainable, inclusive, and beneficial to all segments of society. Strong governance provides the foundation upon which trust is built. Accountability ensures that this trust is maintained through transparency and integrity. Meanwhile, technological advancements offer unprecedented opportunity to accelerate progress, bridge inequalities, and create innovative solutions to complex challenges. However, technology must be guided by sound governance framework and ethical consideration to truly serve humanity. Ladies and gentlemen, as a university, we recognize our role not only as a center of knowledge, but also as a catalyst for change. Through research, education, and collaboration, we are committed to contributing to policy and practices that promote sustainable development and social equity. This conference brings together distinguished minds from diverse backgrounds, and I am confident that the discussion, insight, and collaboration from here will generate meaningful contribution towards shaping a better future. Let this forum be a shape where ideas are challenged, perspectives are broadened, and partnership are strengthened. This year, the conference have received 252 papers from Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, the Philippines, Hungary, and Australia. The participants will present and disseminate their research papers. The 6th CoNeScINTech 2026 is hosted by Universitas Internasional Batam, and this is made possible by the support of our partners, namely Universitas Diponegoro Indonesia, Universitas Muhammadiyah Purwokerto Indonesia, Universitas Pendidikan Ganesha Indonesia, Universitas Internasional Batam, Universitas University Teknologi Mara Malaysia, University Putra Malaysia or UPM Malaysia, Valaya Alangkon Rajabat University under the royal patronage from Thailand, Polytechnic University of the Philippines, Mariano Marcos State University from the Philippines, University of Peck from Hungary, Monash University from Australia, as well as other universities who are participating by sending presenters and participants. Ladies and gentlemen, I encourage all participants to actively engage, share your expertise, and explore innovative pathways that can drive impactful change in governance and development. With that, I officially welcome you to the conference and wish you all a productive and inspiring experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Iskandar Itan, for your inspiring and encouraging remarks. Before we proceed to the next session, we will have a virtual group photo as a part of our conference documentation. We kindly ask all participants to turn on your camera and smile for the camera. Okay, we will wait for everyone. Okay. 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, another one. 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, thank you, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now have a short virtual break while preparing for our plenary session. Please stay connected and we will resume the conference promptly in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Welcome to Universitas Internasional Batam or UIB. We are proud and honored to introduce UIB to you. Established in year 2000, UIB is a newly private university, but it has tremendous potential. Located in Batam City, about 20 kilometers southern part of Singapore and Malaysia, UIB is a campus with adequate infrastructures to support excellent teaching and learning processes such as library, laboratories, sport hall, dormitories, etc. UIB has many departments with high quality standards, research activity, community service, and market and industrial collaboration. In accordance with the vision and mission of UIB, we will develop UIB as an international quality university and foster graduates who are able to encounter dynamic global changes. Thus, all stakeholders will be able to acknowledge the potential and benefit of UIB as a center for the development of science, technology, art, and cultures in reinforcing Indonesian human resource development. Critics and suggestions are welcome for our university. Thank you.
I am someone who enjoys traveling and seeing new places. I am from France. When I had the chance to study and live in Indonesia, especially in Batam, I was very excited. Personally, the meaning of study is not only reading a book or memorizing every lesson, but trying to be able to explore your surrounding in order to grow your knowledge.
UIB, as one of the best universities in Kepulauan Riau province, gives me such a big opportunity to learn more about civil engineering and also to learn Indonesian language and culture. I want to challenge myself and experience how life is when you are not in your own country. My first impression when coming here is the cleanliness and friendliness of its people. The relationship between the staff and students is strong as well. I can see that the facilities provided is very convenient, and even if it's my first time coming here, I can feel that I can adapt to this place pretty well.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We will now proceed to our plenary session with the theme Strengthening Governance, Accountability, and Technological Advancement Towards Sustainable and Inclusive Development. We are honored to welcome the speakers from leading universities and institutions across Malaysia, Australia, and Indonesia who will share their expertise and perspectives on today's conference theme. This plenary session will be guided by our moderator, Ms. Hani Yahdila, SGZ MFT from Universitas Internasional Batam. At this point, I would like to kindly hand over this session to our moderator, Ms. Hani. The screen is yours.
All right. Thank you, MC. Will you kindly help to confirm if I'm audible or not? Is it still? Is it okay now? Okay. All right, better. All right. Thank you, MC. Good morning once again, distinguished Rector of Universitas Internasional Batam, honorable keynote speakers, distinguished guests, researchers, presenters, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to each and every one of you. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the plenary session of the 6th International Conference on Business, Social Science and Technology, CoNeScINTech 2026. My name is Hani Adila, and I'm honored to serve as your moderator for today's plenary session. A short brief, CoNeScINTech is an annual international conference organized by Universitas Internasional Batam. It brings together academics, researchers, practitioners, students, and policymakers to exchange ideas, share research findings, and strengthen academic collaboration across the fields of business, social science, and technology. Through this conference, we aim to foster interdisciplinary discussion and encourage researches that contributes to sustainable development, institutional improvement, technological innovation, and evidence-based policymaking. This morning, we are privileged to be joined by 6 distinguished keynote speakers from Malaysia, Indonesia, and Australia, who will share their expertise, experiences, and perspectives with all of us. Before we begin, I would like to inform everyone that each keynote speaker will have 20 minutes for the presentation, followed immediately by a question and answer session. Now, without further ado, let us begin with our first keynote speaker. It is my pleasure to introduce our first keynote speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Noor Eza Rahmat, Dean of the Faculty of Law at University Teknologi Mara, UiTM Malaysia. Her research focuses on family law, alternative dispute resolution, child law, and access to justice. Professor, welcome to CoNeScINTech 2026. Before you begin, a gentle reminder that you have 20 minutes for your presentation. Now, the screen is yours.
All right. Thank you very much, Miss Moderator, Miss Hani Yadila. Shall I share the screen, or the organizer will be sharing the slides?
Both is possible, Doctor. Should we help you to share the screen?
Yes,
All
yes,
right.
please. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Miss Moderator, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, professors, practitioners, future innovators, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much to the organizing committee, Universitas Internasional Batam, for inviting me to give sharing notes with the audience and with the participants of the conference. So today's session, I will share with you some important notes from our faculty and from our university on the topic of sustainable dispute resolution, teaching tech-enabled ADR for inclusive access to justice. Okay, first of all, I would like to define what is ADR, Alternative Dispute Resolution. All right, so if you have a dispute, for example, you have a choice, either to go to the court, straight away go to the court, or you can settle your dispute outside court. So from the picture here, we can see traditionally, you see the reality of traditional legal system for generation. Endless stack of papers, long queues, and courts suffocating under massive backlogs worldwide. In the future, inshallah, you will see a glimpse of the modern digital landscape. That's why today I want you to look at the definition of justice here, the evolution of justice. For centuries, justice was understood as a physical place, a brick and mortar courtroom you had to travel to, wait in, and spend immense financial resources to access. Today, I stand before you to declare a fundamental truth that justice is no longer a place, but it is a service. ADR is no longer merely an alternative. Next slide, please. ADR is no longer merely an alternative. It is actually an effective way to settle a dispute. It has become a primary necessity for modern, efficient, and equitable justice. But as we step deeper into the 21st century, we must ask ourselves two critical questions. Number one, how do we make dispute resolution truly sustainable and inclusive? And number two, how do we regulate the massive wave of AI currently sweeping through international ADR platform? When we look at this slide, when we speak of sustainability in law, we are not just talking about saving paper, though that is a crucial benefit. In sustainable dispute resolution, it rests on four core pillars. Number one, affordable. Affordable means creating legal mechanisms that operate without prohibitive costs for the everyday citizen or small enterprise. Number two, durable, framework that build long-lasting, reliable, and mutually acceptable outcomes. Next, eco-friendly, transitioning to paperless, process, and travel-free digital hearing to drastically reduce carbon emission. And lastly, resourceful, resolving conflict swiftly without draining community resources or exhausting institutional capacity. Next, please. All right, so this concept is very relevant to governance, accountability, and inclusion. Reliable conflict resolution forms the bedrock of accountable institutions. Through inclusion means that every citizen, regardless of their postal code, income bracket, or geographical location, deserve equal access to justice. So through technology, we remove geographic barrier, we lower operational costs, and expand our reach into rural and historically marginalized communities. Next. Okay, under the big umbrella of ADR, there are many platforms actually that we can use for the dispute settlement. Yeah, as I mentioned here, we have negotiation, conciliation, adjudication, mediation, arbitration, and we also have ombudsman and MEDAP. MEDAP is mediation arbitration. So through all these platforms, nowadays, we are heading and moving towards technology. Therefore, I think most of the jurisdictions nowadays provide online platform for ADR processes. For example, here we can see negotiation, where we are going to use direct digital tools, conciliation using secure messaging hubs, mediation conducted through interactive high definition and video platform, adjudication accelerated by online evidence submission, and arbitration nowadays utilizing remote hearing, smart scheduling across time zone, and legally binding e-signatures. Next. All right, looking at the advantages of ADR, all right, so we actually want to add on with the application of ODR. Okay, what is ODR? Online Dispute Resolution. ODR is actually adapts electronic means to traditional alternative dispute resolution processes such as negotiation, mediation, and arbitration, and use software automated processes for that dispute settlement. So the key advantage is that parties need not submit their dispute for adjudication before the courts of a different jurisdiction. So broadly speaking, traditional disputes such as commercial or social disputes are now capable of being resolved by use of information technology. Next. Okay, talking about ODR, okay, it is completely online. Therefore, there is no travel, no paper, and no delay. So that's why video conferencing is very, very important. Nowadays, physical presence will be minimized, and online video conferencing will be maximized. And when we talk about video conferencing, we talk also about automated scheduling tools and also e-signing software, because legally binding digital signatures on agreement and awards, in that position or in that situation, we need e-signing software. And of course, it is also related to secure digital communication hubs where encrypted messaging and document exchange will be used in this platform. Next. All right, so now let us address the elephant in the room, that is AI, artificial intelligence. AI is no longer science fiction. In modern arbitration, AI tools are already sorting complex evidence in seconds, reviewing hundreds of thousands of documents in weeks, predicting settlement probabilities, and drafting procedural contract clauses. When we use AI correctly, it will save immense time and mitigate cognitive human fatigue. However, we must make an essential theoretical distinction on the ground whereby, number one, party autonomy allows disputing parties to agree on using digital tools and AI platform, and number two, under judicial theory, the adjudicative authority must remain strictly human. Okay, next. All right. So I think when we talk about ADR, we talk about the advantages of ODR as well. Yeah. Nowadays, I know in Malaysia and Indonesia, we have many communities who are staying and living very far away in remote areas compared to those who are living in Jakarta, in Kuala Lumpur. Therefore, these people also need access to justice. Yeah. So by using ODR, online dispute resolution, we actually remove the geographic barrier. Therefore, no travel required. And it will lower the cost. Yeah, they don't have to travel to Jakarta. They don't have to travel to Kuala Lumpur. Those people can have access to justice. They can use the online platform to settle their dispute. So this will expand the reach, yeah, from the big towns to the small towns and also the remote areas. Okay, next. Okay, at the same time, we actually preserve our environment. Yeah. All right. So this is actually to reduce the carbon footprint, whereby when we use digital hearing, it will eliminate transportation. It will go to zero travel emission, and of course, paperless filing, because everything is online, and it will actually preserve and sustain the life cycle. So this is how we preserve the environment at the same time. Okay, next. Okay, let us look at, before we go to outside, we have to look at the faculty and the university. So how to update the legal education framework? All right. When we talk about legal education, it starts in the classroom. How do we bridge this gap? Yeah. At the Faculty of Law, UiTM, we actually embed or incorporate the awareness, knowledge, and practical platform of ODR in our curriculum. We cannot teach the 21st century technology using the 19th century pedagogy. Law school must immediately update their legal education framework to integrate digital literacy, data analytics, and virtual advocacy. So our students must engage in live, simulated online mediation and arbitration, and they need to learn how to read digital body language over video feeds. They have to manage technical glitch under high pressure. They have to uphold data privacy and cybersecurity protocol, and they have to know how to detect algorithmic bias and verify AI outputs against primary sources. Next. And this is what I mentioned before, that students should participate in live, simulated, online mediation, arbitration, adjudication, ombudsman, etc. And the training must include managing technical glitch, reading digital body language, and handling cyber security protocols. Next. Okay, so I think this one very similar to that. Okay, students should actually observe on data privacy. We must teach the future practitioners, that is our students, to safeguard the data privacy. And the students also need to ensure that AI tools remain transparent and protect against systemic digital bias. Next. Okay, so this screen is actually giving you example on how online dispute resolution provided by the government. But I actually want to emphasize on the comparative legal study evaluating how different jurisdictions in the Asia-Pacific region are adapting to AI. Namely, I want to highlight on Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia, and of course, Indonesia. Okay, in Singapore, Singapore leads with a comprehensive multi-layered regulatory architecture, from the Ministry of Law Guide for using generative AI in the legal sector 2026 to the SIAC rules 2025 and its cloud-based SIAC gateway. Singapore has actually embraced explicit data security and ethical compliance rules. For Hong Kong actually utilized a technology-neutral stance, while its arbitration ordinance implies that arbitrators must be natural persons. Institutions like Hong Kong International Arbitration Centre actively partner with AI engine like Jus Mundi to publish open access and AI-generated case summaries. For Malaysia, our country, Malaysia sits at a critical juncture. Our Arbitration Act 2005 and AIAC, Asian International Arbitration Centre Rules 2026 provide a flexible foundation for party autonomy and virtual hearing. The Rule 41 of AIAC rules firmly keeps decision-making in the hands of the tribunal. Meanwhile, our National Guidelines on AI Governance and Ethics 2024 set strong voluntary principles. However, Malaysia still faces a statutory silence regarding AI disclosure, algorithmic bias, and automated evidence. And not to forget Indonesia, driven by the surge in e-commerce, fintech, and digital service adoption, Indonesia actually has transformed its dispute resolution landscape across judicial, regulatory, and private sector framework. And for Indonesia, I think there are many examples here. I will pick two just to highlight. Number one, Supreme Court regulation regulates court annex mediation conducted electronically via the Supreme Court e-court portal. And another example, Labs SJK. I think last year I visited your Labs SJK. I think it is very, very wonderful and a very beautiful building for Indonesians to use the facility. So this Financial Services Authority regulation mandates integrated dispute resolution in the financial sector through the sector-specific alternative dispute resolution institutions. So to remain competitive as a premier regional arbitration seat, Malaysia, Indonesia, Hong Kong, and Singapore, we must move from passive flexibility to active and clear regulation. So looking ahead, I advocate for 3 actionable reform across international ADR. Number 1, harmonize UN Central Framework. We must move beyond soft law towards uniform international standard governing AI use in international commercial arbitration. Next, mandatory AI competency. Institutional bodies should require arbitrators and counsel to demonstrate baseline technological literacy and AI ethics certification. And lastly, explainability and verification standard, whereby any AI-assisted legal research or documentary submission must provide traceable, verifiable sources to eliminate hallucinations and safeguard due process. So from the screen, as you can see, that is an example from the UK. Okay, next. So I think this is my last slide. One more. I think there is one more. Okay, so this is my last slide. Ladies and gentlemen, technology is a powerful servant, but a dangerous master. As educators, policymakers, tech developers, and legal practitioners, our shared vision must be unified. We are not building platforms merely to make dispute resolution faster or cheaper. We are building them to make justice more ethical, more accessible, and more human. Let us embrace technology-enabled ADR not as a replacement for human wisdom, but as the bridge that carries equal justice to every corner of our global community. With that, I end my talk today with wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much. I give back the session to the moderator.
All right, thank you very much, Professor. Okay, that was indeed a very insightful presentation on sustainable dispute resolution and the transformative role of technology in advancing inclusive access to justice. Right, Professor? All right. It's a great time. We have 2 minutes extra for the question and answer session. Now, we will proceed to the question and answer session. To all audience, if you have any question, you are welcome to raise your hand or type your question in the Zoom chat. And before asking your question, kindly introduce yourself by mentioning your name and institution, followed by your question. All right, the floor is now open for a question. Oh, okay. I see there's a question from Professor Rina. May I invite Professor Rina from UIB? Please unmute yourself and proceed with your question.
Okay, terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Professor Noor, for the explanation. We are from the same background, I think, from the same field. Okay, I also focus on the ADR and arbitration. So I have a concern regarding the security of the awards, okay? Because, so much discussion and debate relating whether the AI can draft it, the awards itself. So if it's AI can draft it, it would be, exposed to the cloud. If exposed to the cloud, it could be like the security of the awards could be leaked to other parties. And then, as we know that the arbitration in particular is a final, binding, and confidential. So I'm just concerned about the confidentiality and how is Malaysia, really deal with this issue, about the confidentiality of the arbitration awards itself. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you for the question, Professor Rina. As the position in Malaysia nowadays, of course, the judgment, the decision still made by the human beings, the arbitrators themselves. But at the moment, I think we are moving towards AI. Therefore, we just introduced the online mediation, online arbitration, but AI assistance or AI as assistance is only to assist, not to make decision, not to give judgment. Yeah, just to assist. Yeah, for example, if they want to investigate or they want to do research on the evidence or on the submission of the parties involved, therefore they are going to use AI or using technology. But in terms of making judgment, making a decision, lastly to draft the award, of course it is still human being involved. So that's the position in Malaysia. So perhaps Prof. Rina, maybe you can also share with us what is the position in Indonesia. Are you using AI tools to assist the arbitrators to make judgment?
So should I answer it now, or how is this going to be like a discussion with you?
Yeah, you can just explain to this.
Okay, so if there's time, yes, we use AI, but then it's also quite similar to the approaches from Malaysia. In Indonesia, it's very limited. It's not like the arbitrators are going to ask the AI to draft it, the awards itself, because we are worried and very concerned about the leakage, because it's going to be, become open, and as the principle is a confidentiality. And then even if so, there's their party autonomy. If the disputing party themselves, they're more reluctant if the drafted by the AI. So I think it's our approaches, Indonesia and Malaysia, it's quite similar. But then it's quite a debate in the north, the global north, talking about how is going to be the AI assisted in drafting the awards. Okay, thank you. That's my understanding
Right.
about Indonesian history.
Thank you very much for the sharing.
All right, thank you, Professor Rina, for the question, and also thank you, Dr. Izan, for the response. We still have 2 more minutes left if we have another question. So we'll wait for another moment. Okay, for at this moment, we still have no question yet in the chat box, either raising hand. So I think we can move forward to the next question, to the next speaker. And thank you very much, Associate Professor Dr. Nur Eza Rahmat, for your thoughtful presentation, and also thank you for to the participants. May I close this session and let us continue with our second keynote speaker. All right, it is my pleasure to introduce our next keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Insinyur Andri Irfan Rifai, Dean of the Faculty of Civil Engineering and Planning at Universitas Internasional Batam. His expertise lies in transportation engineering and infrastructure asset management. Professor, welcome. Before you begin, a gentle reminder that you have 20 minutes for your presentation. Now the screen is yours.
Thank you so much. My voice is clear?
Yes, Professor.
And screen.
Yes, it is
Okay.
visible.
Okay. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, distinguished colleagues, fellow academics, and all participants of the 6th CoNeScINTech 2026. Allow me present my talk title From Roots to Data. Transport digitalization as a pillar of public accountability in the society 5.0 era. I choose this title because it captures a major shift happening in the transport sector, from simply building roads and physical infrastructure toward an ecosystem driven by data. This shift is not only about technology, it is about how we build governance that is more transparent and accountable. The seminar centered on strengthening governance, accountability, and technological advancement towards sustainable and inclusive development is deeply relevant to my file, Transportation Technology Engineering. Over the next 20 slides, I will talk about how transport digitalization from Surabaya to Estonia becomes a concrete instrument for strengthening public accountability, of course. Let's begin. Before diving into the substance, let me give you roadmap of today's presentation organized into 5 main parts. First, we will explore why data matters so much, the governance gap that has long existed in the transport sector. Second, we will focus especially on Indonesia with case studies from Surabaya, Jakarta, and national over-dimension overload policy. Third one is we will look at global benchmark from ASEAN, Estonia, and the European Union. Fourth, I will highlight the structural barriers and public trust issues that remain challenging. And the last, we will close with a forward-looking view, how inclusive and sustainable transport design can truly be achieved. These 5 parts are interconnected, and by the end of this presentation, I hope you will see how transport technology is not merely an efficient tool, but a genuine governance instrument. Let us start from the root of the problem. For decades, the transport sector operated on trust rather than evidence. Regulators, operators, and the public often lacks synchronized data on complaints, safety, or services performance. As a result, many transport policy decisions were made based on assumption or anecdotal experience rather than verified data. This created what is known as information asymmetry, where one party now far more than others, opening the door to a lot of accountability is the issues. Digitalization changed all of this. Sensors, GPS, and automated enforcement system now create digital trails that are auditable, visible to all parties at the same time. The diagram on the right sensor and a control centers into a single transparent data ecosystem. How does this data-driven approach work? I try to summarize in the 3 core pillars. The first pillar is transparency, where auditable digital trial replace subjective guesswork. In the study, I reference transparent effectiveness reaches around I think 88% in covering violation pattern of performance anomalies. The second pillar is enforceability, real-time monitoring roles that one existed only on paper into roles that are actually applied on the ground, with effectiveness rate on around 82%. The third pillars, and one often overlooked, is inclusion. Data help us referral who is still being left behind in transport access. Though achievement has stand on only around 64%, showing there is still significant room for improvement. These three pillars reinforce another. It is transparency without enforcement is just a report, and enforcement without inclusion only deepens existing inequality. Let's see Indonesian section divider. Now we move into the first core section, Indonesian Intelligent Transport System or ITS journey. I choose to begin with the domestic context because this is where can directly observe how the theory of data-driven governance is applied under real-world constraint, budget limitation, human resource gap, and interagency coordination challenges typical of a developing country like Indonesia, of course. As initial gifts, we will highlight at least 3 major cities, including one of the longest implementation journey in the world, 25 years in Surabaya, as well as the world's longest bus rapid transit network, Transjakarta, of course in Jakarta, spanning 251 kilometer. Let's talk about the Surabaya. Surabaya is one of Indonesia's most mature example of how intelligent transport systems are built gradually, not overnight. This journey began in 1992 with the implementation of Area Traffic Control System or ATCS, a basic traffic signal control system. Upon 60 years, the system operated and evolved until 2008. The city began seeking a next generation, more adaptive system. In 2010, the Surabaya Intelligent Transport System or SITS was born, integrating complex adaptive system principles that allow the network to dynamically adjust to real-time traffic condition. And since 2016, we have seen innovation such as electronic ticketing or tilang. What's important to underline here is the reason 25 years is not a short time. It's so that technology-driven governance transformation is not a short-term project, but a long-term institutional commitment. See in Jakarta, about the smart mobility layer. Tuning to Jakarta, we have Transjakarta, the world largest bus rapid transit system with a total network of 251.2 kilometers. What's remarkable is just the walk length, but how Transjakarta integrated smart mobility concept into its operation, from real-time fleet tracking to digital ticketing and integrated passenger information system. The photo you see show Jakarta elevated corridor cutting through Jakarta dense urban landscape. Behind the physical infrastructure lies a data layer that makes operational performance, punctuality, occupancy, routing visible to both regulators and passenger themselves. This is what I call a dual function. Service efficiency running hand in hand with public transparency. Every delay or deviation cannot be tracked rather than merely well as a observed compliant. this is very technical about the in civil engineering or in the transportation engineering about digital wake bridge and versus overdimension overload violation. Now, I want to bring you to very concrete and highly relevant case related to road safety. ODOL or overdimension overload violation, overdimension and overloading of freight vehicle. For years, manual ODOL detection was only about 38% effective, meaning more than half of all violations when undetected. Once weight bridge with digitalization, detection effectiveness jumped to 82%. And we combine with camera system and sensor fusion. This figure is as high as 91%. This data isn't arbitrary. It reflects the explicit policy direction of Indonesia Ministry of Transportation, which promotes digitalization as a primary enforcement instrument for freight regulation. The photo beside this wall, one form of digital with bridge technology now being developed across national route. This case proves that digitalization is not just rhetoric. It delivers measurable safety impact that is directly felt on the road. Moving beyond Indonesia, I want to bring you a more mature regional example, electronic road pricing or ARP in Singapore. The system used gantries electronic structure above the roadway that set road fuel dynamically based on real-time congestion level. So, the price a driver pay isn't determined by static political decision, but by continuously update traffic density data with real time. The photo shows an ARP gantry with a digital display showing the fuel rate directly to driver. What makes this system special from a governance perspective is that its pricing data is published and auditable. The public can see exactly how congestion policy translates into cost. This is a real-world example how transport technology can become a fully transparent policy tools rather than something decided behind closed door. Let's talk about the SDGs framework or SDGs agenda. Transport digitalization does not stand alone. It's connect directly to the Global Development Agenda, the Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs. At least 3 SDGs are relevant here. SDGs 9 on industry, innovation, and infrastructure has alignment rate around 90% with the transport digitalization agendas. SDGs 11 on sustainable city and communities has alignment on around 85%. And SDG 16 on peace, justice, and strong institution, the most relevant today's minar them governance and accountability. Has alignment and around 78%. These figures are not merely formal statistics. They demonstrate that we speak about smart transportation. We are, in fact, speaking about how nations worldwide commit to achieving a large, more inclusive development agenda toward 2030 and beyond. This is the policy recommendation. Based on all the evidence present so far, I would like to propose for concrete policy recommendation. Please, priority ones, mandate interoperable open data standard across all transport agency, so that data from an institution can speak to another without technical friction. Priority two, invest in local technical capacity, not just hardware for recruitment. As we have seen in previous cases, technology without capable human resource will not be sustainable. Priority three, embed accessibility requirement into every digital transport tender, so inclusion is not an afterthought but a requirement from day one. And the last one, the priority for fair transparency dashboard with strong public communication to build legitimacy. Because as I will explain shortly, data alone is not enough to be trust. And open research agendas, as an academics, I also want to close the analytical section by raising separate research direction that I believe remain wide open for further exploration. The first is the study of sensor overlay pipelines, how raw ITS data can genuinely be converted into enforceable regulation. Research in this area is still at early stage. The second is cost-benefit analysis at city scale. How mid-tier cities with limited budget can determine the right scale of ITS investment without repeating the mistake of over or under investment. This area is growing but not yet matters. And this third, which I most challenging, is measuring public trust in digital governance. Research will remain nascent, and I believe this is one of the most promising research opportunities for all us in this room. I think we must talk about the question for this room. Before we move to the closing section, I want to pose a reflective question to all of you. Imagine your city woke up tomorrow with complete transport data. Of course, with transparency, every violation, every delay, every non-compliance, all visible in real time. The question is, which institution in your city would truly be ready to access the data, and which would be caught off guard? It's the big question. There are the stakeholders to consider here. The regulator who sets the rules, the operators who runs the services, and it's very important, and the citizen who directly experience to the impact. Who the citizen? We all. I want to answer this question now. I want it to remain a topic for our discussion, whether during the QE session or in your own personal reflection after the seminar concludes.
Prof. Andri?
Yeah.
Gentle reminder that you have about 2 minutes remaining.
Okay, thank you. The global section divider. Now, let's move into the second part of the question, global benchmark. I have a lot of country and a lot of continent, but I think you are very familiar with Singapore, but I guess you're not know about the Estonia. Estonia is have the technology transportation more than Indonesia. Okay, I skip here. Mobility to everyone. I want to go a bit deeper into today's three model, the European Union and Estonia. For Estonia, will teaches us different but equally important lesson. Technical excellence not enough, even though their digital systems are highly advanced. Recent research show the legitimacy and public communication matter just as much as infrastructure itself in building long-term this. From this lesson, complement each other. Technology must be inclusive by design, and it must to communicate it well enough to earn public trust. Okay, I skip here. Sorry. Okay. The bottom line, as we reach the conclusion of our discussion, I want to summarize today's entire journey in three key figures. 25 years Surabaya institutional journey in building its intelligent transport system or ITS, teaching us the governance transformation requires time and consistent. 251 kilometer, the length of the world lunges for BRT or Bus Rapid Transit Network, Transjakarta, showing that large scales can still be managed transparently when properly designed. And the number three, the three conditions that must be fulfilled: transparency, institutional capacity, and inclusive design. The core message I want to leave you with is this: data alone never creates accountability. Data must be fair with institutions willing to act and with design that truly includes everyone without exception. Distinguished colleagues, esteemed audience, this conclusion by presentation from data to from root to data, transport digitalization as a pillar of public accountability in society 5.0 era. I warm welcome to question, comment, or further discussion from all of you. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor. We truly appreciate your valuable insight. Okay, we will now proceed to the question and answer session. To all participants, if you have any question, you are welcome to raise your hand or type your question in the Zoom chat. And before asking your question, kindly introduce yourself by mentioning your name and institution, followed by your question. The floor is now open. Okay. All right. May I invite Professor Rina from UIB? Please unmute yourself and proceed with your question.
Yeah, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thanks again. So sorry because I, keep asking question because it's a very, good opportunity for me to listen from different background. Prof. Andri, it's very interesting that you give us a challenging questions, and I'm trying to reflect it. Is it feasible to apply ITS in Batam? Are we ready for ITS in Batam? And if not, and what are the challenges that we have to set up, in order to join like Surabaya, because I'm thinking about Batam, because we are already get traffic sometimes. It's not that bad as Surabaya or Jakarta, but is it feasible to adopt ITS for Batam? Thank you.
All right, Professor, may you kindly respond to the question?
Okay, thank you. Prof. Rina, thank you for your question. It's very interesting. It looks like you're asking how explain if something is applied in Batam. If this concept is applied in Batam, how about the in Surabaya need 20 years more? It would need to consider the city role and strategic industrial and logistic hub near Singapore. It's the potential condition. The implementation would focus on improving connectivity between industrial zones, port, and residential area, while also addressing traffic congestion and supporting economic growth. Additionally, local factors such as land availability, existing infrastructure, and cross-border mobility would play an important role in determining its effectiveness. Please, to example, if this transportation system were implemented in Batam, it could significant ancient mobility between key industrial area and port, reduce travel time, and support the city function as a major economic gateway in region. It's the theory. But in facts, we have problem, I think, with regulation. We have to governments, we have more law. It's your field, I think. Because the ITS, the most factor how to get the success is the governance and governments. If only talk about the system, if only about talk about tools, I think Batam is leader in Indonesia. but how to implement it, by how to sustain, but how to improve years to years is the big question. The conclusion, the answer for your question, how to ITS implementation Batam. I think it's need more study, more concept, and willingness from the government, and I think it's all stakeholder in Batam. It's not easy. Thank you, Prof. Rina.
All right, Prof. Rina, I hope that answer your question. Okay, I think to ensure that we remain on schedule, we will only take one question from Prof. Rina. If the participant have additional question, we will be pleased to welcome during the general panel discussion at the end of the all keynotes presentation. All right, thank you very much, Professor Andri, for your thoughtful responses, and thank you all also to all participants. May we close the session, and without further ado, we can continue with our third keynote speakers. All right, allow me to introduce Professor Dr. Dewa Gede Sudikamankoo. Professor Dr. Dewa Gede Sudikamankoo, SILLM, is Professor of International Law and Vice Dean of the Faculty of Law and Social Science at Universitas Pendidikan Ganesha, Indonesia. His expertise include international law, air and space law, and legal studies. But unfortunately, Professor Dewa Gede Sudikamankoo is unable to join us live today due to his commitment to a religious ceremony. However, he has kindly prepared a recorded presentation for this conference. So, ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy the presentation.
Good morning to all, the leader of Faculty of Law, Batam International University, Dean Faculty of Law, Vice Dean Faculty of Law, Batam International University, respected professor and participants. My name is Dewa Gede Sudikamankoo. I'm from Ganesha University of Education, Singaraja Buleleng. Today, I would like to present my paper, Priorities for Developing Indonesian Border Area, Opportunities and Challenges for the Indonesian Government. Thank you for the opportunity to share this presentation with all of you. This is a title of my presentation, Priorities for Developing Indonesian Border Area, Opportunities and Challenges for the Indonesian Government. List of material, first introduction, second development and priorities, third challenge face, internal and external, four opportunities that can be explored, and five, the role of government, strategic implementation framework. Definition of the border area. Before discuss development priorities, it is important to first understand what border area. According to Article 1, Paragraph 6 of Law Number 43 of 2008 concerning state territory, a border area is defined as a part of Indonesian national territory located among the country borders with neighboring state. For land border, areas are generally located within sub-district that area directly adjacent to another country. Border development requires an integrated approach that balance security, economy growth, and social welfare. This is a strategic importance of border area. Border area strategic importance from three main perspectives. Yeah, the first, national security. The border area serve as the first line of national defense. They play a crucial role in protecting Indonesian territory, sovereignty, and maintaining political stability. Effective border control is also necessary to prevent illegal activity such as the smuggling of goods, illegal immigration, human trafficking, narcotics trafficking, and even the spread of disease. Second, economic development. Border region function as a gateway for cross-border trade. Investment in transportation infrastructure, logistic facilities, custom service, and border economic zone improves that trade efficient, trade investment, and create employment opportunities. Third, social development. Border area are places where different ethnic groups and culture meet. Interaction strengthen culture diversity, tolerance, and cooperation among neighboring countries. At the same time, improving education, healthcare, and public service is essential to improving the quality of life of border communities. Priority development of border area. Moving on, the Indonesian government has identified three major priorities for border area development. The first priority is infrastructure development. The second priority is strengthening local economic development. And the third priority is improving social welfare. The three priorities complement one another because infrastructure facilitates economic activities, while economic growth in turn support better public welfare. Integrating infrastructure and economic growth. Having discussed the government priorities, let us now turn to the challenge. Despite considerable opportunities, border region continue to face numerous security challenges. This infrastructure directly support strengthening the local economic through two sector agriculture, which involves local product development, and agricultural infrastructure improvement and tourism. In short, better road, bridge, harbor, and connectivity are what allow agriculture and tourism in border area to grow. Improving social welfare through human capital. The third pillar in social welfare improvement, and this shift to investment in human capital, especially education and health. On the education side, the government focus on school to by skill training for the local workforce. On the health side, the focus on building and improving health facilities. Together, education and health from foundation for social welfare improvement in border communities. Challenge to security and stability. Now let us turn to the challenge. This slide highlights to security affecting border area. Border territory dispute, the distribution of narcotic, smuggling of goods, and human trafficking. As shown in this diagram, these trade operate right along the border boundary and reflect they are national stability and the core. Internal barriers, socio-economic and infrastructure challenge. Beyond security threat, there are also internal barriers. On one side, on one side, we have infrastructure limitation, issue of quality and connectivity. On the other side, we have social and economic issues, particularly limited access to service. Yeah, both the various conflict into the single outcome, poverty and inequality, which remains one of most pressing issue in the border region. Opportunities that can be exploited. Despite this challenge, border area hold significant potential. At the center of this diagram is a border area potential, surrounded by 6 key opportunities: one, diplomatic relation, international trade, national resource, investment, culture, and tourism. Head of this area represent and district venue, yeah, with border region can drive regional growth. The role of the new government. This brings us to the role of the new government. The new government strategy is the build up to the same 3 pillars we saw earlier: infrastructure development, strengthening the local economic, and improving social welfare. Yeah, they show that the current government strategic implementation framework is a continue and refocus to these 3 core priorities. Implementation strategy framework. Who is this strategy actually implemented? Yeah, this ecosystem flowchart show the process. It begins with inter-agency coordination, the synergy between central and regional government. Yeah, objectives across government levels and department to ensure a unified policy direction. This coordination lead to the preparation of a joint action plan, development integrate strategies for both and long-term implementation. At the same time, this joint action plan is also served below and by community participant, local community involvement that engages local stakeholder and citizen for grassroots input, feedback, and support. Advancing through innovation and integrated policy. This slide presentation the innovation integrated model. On one side, we have policy represented by the integrated development program. On the other side, we have innovation represented by smart city technology and community-based development program. Where these 2 circles overlap, we arrive to the modernization border area, the result of combining zone politics with innovative technology and community-based approach. The border ecosystem diagnosis. This table summarizes everything into the single diagnosis view, organized by domain, current challenge, government strategy, and resulting opportunity. For security and diplomacy, the current challenge is territorial dispute and smuggling. The government strategy is interagency coordination, and the resulting opportunity is stronger diplomatic relation and international trade. For economy and infrastructure, the current challenge in connectivity gap, yeah, and for quality, the government strategy is smart city technology combined with joint action plan, and then resulting opportunity in investment, tourism, and natural resource. For social welfare, the current challenge is poverty, inequality, and limited access. The government strategy is community-based integrated program, and the resulting opportunity is a local improvement and culture preservation. Yeah, this table essential connect every challenge we discussed early with the corresponding government strategy and the opportunity it unlock. to bring me to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
All right. We will now proceed to the question and answer session. And as Professor Dewa's presentation was delivered via recorded video, we will now open the floor for question which will be addressed on his behalf. Before asking your question, kindly introduce yourself by mentioning your name and institution, followed by your question. Okay. I notice here there is a statement from Ms. Karima Batam. Miss, as mentioned earlier, Professor Dewa is unable to join us live today due his prior commitment to a religious ceremony. But inshallah, I will copy this message to to the committee to tell to Professor Dewa, inshallah.
Okay, thank you.
Uh, All right, Miss, well received from the committee. Thank you. All right, we'll wait for another 1 minute. If there's no question, then we can proceed to the next speaker. All right, let's proceed to the next speaker. It is my pleasure to introduce Professor Rina Sahriani Sahrullah, professor at the Faculty of Law, Universitas Internasional Batam. Her expertise spans international law, human rights, comparative law, business law, Islamic law, and gender equality. Professor, welcome. Before you begin, a gentle reminder that you have 20 minutes for your presentation. Now, Professor Rina, the screen is yours.
Okay, thank you so much. Could you please help me to share the slides from your side? Because, it's just stopped raining. I'm worried that, something happened during my presentation.
All right, sure, Doctor.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, so yeah, while you're working on that sharing, okay, I would like to say Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning to everyone from different part of the countries, and I think there are also some from our neighboring countries. Okay, thank you for being here. So what I'm trying to focus today is about how we integrate business and human rights for corporate sustainability in Indonesia, because the previous speakers already mentioned about the use of AI and also the use of AI technology in the road, and the previous speaker also mentioned about the border, the border issues. So I'm trying to focus in a quite different angle, still related to business and corporate sustainability, is about integrating business and human rights for corporate sustainability in Indonesia. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, now anyone, if you see this, sorry, it's written in Indonesia in Bahasa because I copied simply from the Komnas HAM, our National Commission for Human Rights. It's about there are many human rights violations in Indonesia which are or have been violated by the corporations or the companies, and we see here one is about the pharmacy, and relating to the failure of kidneys. And I think some of you maybe recall about these issues. And also relating to, the mines in Sangihe. Okay, there are a lot of mines in Sangihe, and then there's also the violation of human rights between, in one part is the community, and the others is the the corporations, or sometimes between the community to the governments. And this is what I'm trying to focus on. Okay, so let's see first. Next slide, please. I've got 16 slides, so that's why I try to, next slide, please. Can somebody please, next? Stuck in the second slide. Can you please move to the next slide? Okay. What the next slide? Okay, so if it's, then I will just continue if there's no next slides. So I will talk about the human rights risk in business practices, and we see that there are many risks when we talk about human rights risk in business practices. We see from the labor rights, we see from the rights to healthy environment, also rights to local community and vulnerable groups. So let's look at the labor rights. Okay, probably many of you have read about child labor, forced labor, and then unhealthy working condition. It's not only happen in Indonesia, but in many parts of the world, in particular in the North Global. Okay. Or they say global north. And then also, okay, there's a right to healthy environment. Okay, about this is actually our rights to have the environment which is free from pollutions, whether it's industrial waste or land grabbing or anything that we consider that might reduce the quality of our environment. Okay, and also there's the rights of local communities. Okay, for Batam people, you are very familiar with the Rempang case, where there are many people are forced to leave their indigenous, or what we call the ancestral lands, and move to the new areas for the relocations. Okay, so that's also right of the local communities. So loss of livelihoods, social conflicts, and this is between the business and then the corporation with the community. So I'm not talking about between the government and then community, or government related to the business, but more focus on one side is the business and the other party is the community. And we also have vulnerable groups here, okay, like women, children, indigenous people, okay, people with disability, and there are many risks, okay, many risks which may occur during the supply chain, during the business practices. So this is what we are trying to look at in in a very concrete manners, and how are we going to tackle this with practice and also from the regulations approaches. Okay, next slide, please.
Udah human right.
So we talk about using human rights instruments to identify business issues, because there are international human rights instruments, or we call it human rights legal instruments, okay, and such as United Nations Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights, UNGPs, which are consist of 3 pillars, and these 3 pillars is interconnected. The first is the state. So the state has the duty to protect human rights. So that's the duty of the state. And then the corporate has the responsibility to respect human rights. And then for the victims of the human rights violations has the access to effective remedy. So this is international guidelines, and Indonesia also compliance with the UNGPs. And we have also OECD guidelines for multinational enterprises on responsible business conduct. And I think some of you who have, especially for for the law students who have already focused on the business, international business, we talk about these guidelines. And then we have National Human Rights Commissions or Komnas HAM standards, norms, and regulations. And this in particular, when we talk about our National Committee on Human Rights, we have the regulation number 13 on business and human rights, which actually provide the national framework for Indonesia, in particular, to identify, assessing, and monitoring corporate human rights responsibilities and compliance with human rights standards. So when we talk about human rights standards, we also look at it, the human rights standards, international human rights standards, which there is already a guidance here with the UNGPs. Next slide, please. Sorry if I'm trying to make it quite fast because the time is very limited. Next slide, please. Can you please move to the next slide? It's not showing here. Okay. Right. Okay. I'll just continue then.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's focus on Indonesia. Okay, we have Indonesia National Action Plan on Human Rights, Rencana Aksi Nasional Hak Asasi Manusia from 2026 to 2030. Okay, so there is a mandatory business compliance. So before 2026, then okay, this mandatory business compliance is just voluntarily. Okay, but then the Indonesian government shifted the approach, shifted the paradigm, okay, to business and human rights from voluntary matters framework to mandatory legal obligations. So all the corporation, or if I talk about corporation, is a different from when we talk about company. Company is more on a practical matters, okay, the operation of the business. But if we talk about the corporation, is more like the governance, the regulations of the business itself, and the ecosystems of the corporations. So from voluntary framework becomes the mandatory legal obligation starting this year. And then Indonesia also has the 2026 Indonesian Human Rights Index, okay, and it serves as a strategic national instrument. So how to measure and evaluating the progress on human rights, in particular in each provinces and regions of Indonesia. We have this. So this index is not simply for the corporations, but for all stakeholders relating to the compliance with human rights because it's already becomes the mandatory legal obligation. Next slide, please. Can you move to the next slide? Yeah. Okay, now, how the corporations, okay, comply with the human rights. There are several, frameworks. There are several approaches to do it. The first, it could be ESG. I think, some students, especially from the Masters of Law students in UIP, they are quite familiar with this term. This is environmental, social, and governance. So the corporations, they have to make a report, in particular, if that the investment, the foreign investment, or even the national investors coming to Batam, for example, or foreign investments coming to Batam, there should be a requirement to report the ESG. We have the ESG report, which consists of the environmental, social, and governance. So this is how to look at how the company, if I say in the practical matters, how the company, when they start to implement their business practices, whether the company itself, okay, comply with the environmental approaches, meaning, for example, use the renewable fuels, whether to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, or whether that company reduce the energies, and then becomes its more efficiency. And then for the social, okay, focus on whether the company, okay, really focus on the health and safety issues and human rights issues, working conditions. So this is part of the report that should be, disclosed by the corporation when they talk about the business operation, when they talk about their supply chain, whether along those ways they comply with the ESG. And relating to the governance here is more in the internal aspects of the corporation itself, whether the corporation has ethical standards and corporate behavior, okay, whether there is a stakeholder engagements, and how the rights of the stakeholders are guaranteed and respected, okay, and fulfilled by the corporation. So there's one, what we call it ESG, okay, environmental, social, and governance. And then this is very important that Indonesia is also require this report. Next slide, please. Now, what about the ESG principles in the regulation and legislation and policies in Indonesia? Okay, because I'm from law, of course, law, we have to try to tackle it with legislation and try to look at the policies. So there's 10 standards, ESG standards for Indonesia. Okay, so ESG that I mentioned previously is like the broad standard, and then it would be narrowed down by Indonesian government and comes up with the 10 ESG standards. The first standard is pollution prevention and waste management. The second standard is conservation and biodiversity. The third standard, management of renewable natural resources and energy efficiency. Fourth standard is climate change mitigation and adaptation and disaster risk management. Fifth standard is employment and decent work environment. And then when we talk about the sixth standards is about diversity and equity. And also the seventh standard about social engagement. The eighth standards, cultural heritage. The ninth standard is leadership and governance. And the 10th standard is risk and control. So probably you will say, or ask, okay, whether the ESG in Indonesia is somehow different from the implementation or the principle of ESG in other countries. The answer is not that different. Okay, because from the general ESG framework, Indonesia putting it in the principle and regulations under the Indonesian policies, and it comes up with the 10 ESG standards. Next slide, please. Next slide. Can you please move to the next slide? Okay. Now from ESG to UN Global Compact. Later on, at the end, I will try to type each part of the slides, and then so you will understand how to to see the interconnection between all these ESG, UNGPs, UNGC. So we have the United Nations Global Compact. What is United Nations Global Compact? It's actually international initiative that bring private companies and United Nations agencies and labor organization and civil societies. And in UNGCs, it also has the pillars. Then I will mention later. But the most important thing, the 10 principles of UNGC is about on human rights, labor, environment, and anti-corruption. So UNGC, or United Nations Global Compact, trying to get all the companies get together, it's like a forum for them to discuss how to comply with human rights under the pillars of United Nations guiding principles on business and human rights, UNGPs, by joining the UN Global Compact. Because the Global Compact itself, it has its own pillars, which I mentioned about human rights, labor, environment, and anti-corruption. So this is very important that because the company, if they join this, not only the company, because there are other stakeholders, the university can also join, can also the CSO and the United Nations. So this is very important to get to know about how the UN Global Compact works. Okay, next slide, please.
Prof. Rina, kind of remind that we have 2 minutes remaining.
2 minutes. Oh my God. Okay. So, this is I'll just skip this because, this is only the principle, which is the breakdown from all these pillars. Okay, next. Okay. Now, Indonesia has Indonesian Global Compact Network, and then Indonesia is one set up also this global compact, and there are many institutions already joined, not only from the corporation but also from the CSOs and also from the universities and many others as stakeholders. Next slide, please. Okay, now Prisma. We have all the regulation, we have all the policies. The thing is, how are we going to measure? How are we going to know that our business or our corporation, whether violates the human rights or complies with the human rights? So there is Prisma. We call it penilaian risiko bisnis and HAM, hak asasi manusia. So this is a business and human rights risk assessment. It's a self service applications, and then is a self-assessment. So the company, okay, can go to Prisma and register to the Prisma and start looking at whether the company itself already comply with the human rights. Okay, next slide, please. I'll just try to make it very fast. Okay, there's 12 indicators, okay, in Prisma, and then the first is the human rights policies, and the last is human rights impacts. So all these 12 indicators, the questions with the 140 sub-indicators questions will be asked, and then it will become the self-evaluation or self-assessments by the companies in order to find out whether it has complied or violated human rights. Next slide, please. Now, there are the assessment scores. If the company get red, meaning, not yet sufficient, okay, and then yellow, sufficient, compliant, okay, and then if the green is compliance. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this is what, in order to have the ultimate goals of corporate or business sustainability, we have Prisma as a measures. So the business can use this, can use Prisma in order to measure their activities, their what I can say that practices, business practices. By doing so, okay, because by using this Prisma, the business is actually already try to establish or try to comply with the UNGPs, ESG, and UNGC. But if the company itself want to join the UNGC, is even better. But there are some company that they don't want to join UNGC, but only by using Prisma, and then the company can adopt UNGPs and ESG. So by using all these mechanisms, and then ultimately leads to the corporate and business sustainability. Next slide, please. I think the next slide is going to be, okay, so this is all how it's interlinked. I'm not going to explain it later, but if you want to know more, there's one thing that I said I can make sure for you. If you join Master of Law program in UIB, program Magister Hukum S2 UIB, we learn about this. We try to analyze this and to link between the human rights, SDGs, UNGPs, UNGCs, ESG, and corporate sustainability. So that's end of my presentation, and I'm welcome to any questions or any comments or any critics about this presentation. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Professor. We truly appreciate your valuable insight, and we will now proceed to the question and answer session. To all participants, if you have any question, you are welcome to raise your hand or type your question in the Zoom chat. Okay, we will wait for another minutes, maybe, Prof. Okay, we got a question from Mr. Nurfianto Giarpagidung from Malang. Okay. Do you need help to read the question, Prof?
Yes. Can you please read it? I'll read it here as well.
All right. Question to Prof. Rina. How can corporate ESG frameworks enforce verifiable human rights, due diligence, and genuine community empowerment, ensuring that local stakeholders gain measurable FPIC and long-term self-reliance rather than performative social washing and transactional CSR?
Okay, right. Okay, so it's very practical. Thank you so much for who's this for Mas Nur, Mas Nurfianto. That's very interesting, because what I'm saying that well, when we try to connect with all that regulation, we start with the SDGs, we talk UNGPs, we talk about ESG, and then we talk UNGCs, and then we will see, because there's CSR is really the implementation and the local, okay, but there are some of the company, okay, just making it as a lip services, in particular because the community itself, the local community, does not enjoy, okay, what is actually their rights. Okay, for example, the land has been grabbed by the company in order to set up the factory or other things, but and then you also say that free prior informed consents. Yeah, that's also the problems here in Indonesia. Just give me on a little bit time, moderator, to explain about the Batam concept, Batam context. We have Rempang cases here. Probably some of you have already known because it becomes the national headlines. And then the company is really the investor, foreign investor and national investors join together and then would like to establish what we call the factory in Batam, and then it becomes the hub, factory for the glass factory. And then the indigenous community, let's say there is this indigenous community, the people there, the local people there, okay, they have to sacrifice their land, they have to move to the new area in order to give a chance for opportunities for this company to set up their businesses. But the thing is, there's no FPIC, because based on our research, some of the people complain that, well, there's a socialization, but it's very short, and then they already ask for to sign it without, asking for their what is really they sign and what they really put the stamp on it. Okay, so this is about the questions. Okay, and then when the people is putting in the new area, then the company is trying to make the remedy, by making the CSR. I think the national company, there's the national company in Batam, the investor is actually making it by giving the CSR in order to improve the quality of life and then give a training to the community there. So this is kind of the example of how the remedy is given by the corporation through the CSR. But still, the question is not that simple. It's not simply like that, because there are many elements of human rights violations that we have to discuss. Because from the perspective of laws, simply because giving the CSR is not really saying that you already given the remedies. There are many aspects to it, and I think it becomes very lengthy discussion, and it's not enough here. But what I'm trying to say, that the most important thing is all of us try to look at different aspects of human rights and try to check. That's why Prisma comes in, even it's still voluntary, it's not mandatory. So at least the company will look at whether there is a potential of violation of human rights or not. Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Prof. Rina, for the response, and I hope that's answered your question, Mr. Noor. Okay, to ensure that we remain on schedule, we will only take that one question, yeah, Prof. If you have additional question to all participants, we will be pleased to welcome them during the general panel discussion at the end of all keynote presentation. All right, finally, that's sum up our session. But Prof, thank you very much, Prof. Rina, for your thoughtful responses, and thank you also for the participant for asking. All right, may we proceed to the next speaker? All right, allow me to introduce Mr. Muhammad Bahrul Ulum. Mr. Muhammad Bahrul Ulum is currently pursuing his PhD at Queensland University of Technology, Australia, while serving as a lecturer at the University of Jember. His research interests include human rights law, constitutional law, international economic law, food and agricultural law, land law, and socio-legal studies. Mr. Bahrul, you have 20 minutes for your presentation. Now the screen is yours.
Thank you, Mbak Hani, for the time. Allow me to share my PowerPoint slide. Yeah, I think my presentation aligns with the earlier presentation that it deals with Rempang and how business and human rights are tied each other. Prof. Rina already mentioned, and I want to elaborate in the case of PSN legal framework and how the PSN case, particularly on land governance, aligns with faith repressive developmentalist regime concept. And I think that it is timely issue to discuss, as we also know that so many national case and to be national attention, where not only Rempang but also Kertajati, Wadas, and also Kulon Progo earlier, and to the broader context, maybe also encompassing Papua. But I want to focus its PSN legal framework and the case study in Wadas to analyze this issue. And I want to start the issue by reviewing some literature review explaining how the authoritarian rule and how it aligns with development is not only an Indonesian issue, but it is a global issue in which so many countries also have a challenge in how the government has facing or has adopting or has made a measure for implementing authoritarian rules. And also the issue not only in Indonesia, also in many other global south countries. But in this case, I highlight the issue coined by Levitsky and Wei Luxon about competitive authoritarianism. But this competitive authoritarianism might be also to be analyzed further whether in current context in Indonesia also need to be examined further, as Levitsky analysis also has refined themselves regarding competitive authoritarianism. And in Indonesia itself, we have different trajectory of authoritarianism, and so many papers highlighting the issue. For example, Aspinall, also Petloff, and also Karim and Khalid to provide an issue and how authoritarian has researched in Indonesia and how law is used as a repressive tool to this measure. And it specifically deals with land governance in Indonesia. And when we focus on land governance, we specifically can discuss about PSN legal framework. PSN itself is Proyek Strategis Nasional, or we call it a strategic national project. And in this PSN, the government often use the narrative of development, economic growth, and equity, public interest, while establishing accelerated land acquisition regime that departs from existing framework. And we call it as the regime for pengistimewaan, or making specialization or make the special treatment to certain investments, to certain government projects at the expense of development. But at the end of the day, ultimately, it excludes local participation, as also happened in Rempang as well, and also what happened to my case study. And current scholarship analyzed that many papers dealing with new developmentalism, and also in this paper, I want to clarify the concept of new developmentalism itself, in which, as Eva Button analyzes, that new developmentalism in Indonesia is implemented without repression. But I want to clarify and reinterpret the current trajectory in Indonesia, where repressive measures aligns with development practice, and it resonates with faith repressive developmentalist regime. And I use this methodology to interview some farmers, decision makers, and NGO and academics, and using repressive developmentalist regime as the framework. And the data was obtained through semi-structured interview. And this is the structure I want to present. And first, I want to explain about the concept of repressive developmentalist regime. It has several features. For example, economic growth, the government pursue economic growth, but with political reparation and with status ideological theme, and there is a bureaucratization and race stratification. And it also then be challenged by the concept of new developmentalism, even though this new developmentalism also recognize some concept available in repressive developmentalist regime, but the feature offered by Warburton is that the current trajectory is without repressive tools of the new order model. And for example, she recognized the fast-paced economic development, a vision to low reform, corruption, and good governance is a challenge to subordinated to growth-oriented development, and the government seeks stability, but overlooking reformist agenda and with little priority to human rights and impatient with democratic procedure. And highlighting the little priority to human rights and impatient with democratic procedures, I want to highlight further in my finding based on my fieldwork data. And in summary, the concept of new developmentalism is that Indonesia's new developmentalism is not repressive in the new order sense. So I want to highlight how the repressive measure works legally, in which law is used as a repressive measures. For example, the government use president regulatory instrument, and it is used as coercive land politics. Not only purpose actually, but purpose encompassing the early instrument that encompassing much project incorporated to the PSN, but it is also supported by INPRES, and then the government use Permenko or Ministry of Economic Regulations to incorporate the PSN project. But the use of purpose is important to discuss how it represents the broader and much PSN project to be incorporated to the PSN, and how the government, specifically President, exercise his power with no sufficient limitation, in which it also asserting that there is an absence of constitutional limits on the president's power to issue presidential legal instrument, including purpose, in which there is an issue how the power concentration to the president, where there is no sufficient other powers to supervise the president's power. And PSN itself actually is the style project in which it was incorporated to Master Plan for Acceleration and Expansion of Indonesia's Economy, or MP3EI, outlined in Perpres 32, 2011, but because it is stalled, then it is accelerated through PSN. And in WADA's case, actually, WADAS is not directly designated as the PSN under Perpres PSN, but WADAS is important for the PSN project because it supports the PSN area. For instance, in WADA's case, Benodam is under PSN, but WADAS is incorporated as it supports for the Benodam construction to supply andesite mine through the mining of the andesite materials. And it is located 14 kilometers away from the Benodam project. And this explains why, from the WADAS case, it explains why WADAS was initially not listed under PSN, but is illustrating that such additional designation falls within government's discretionary authority over any areas considered rich and in andesite. And also, it also contradicts with the existing local spatial planning, in which WADAS is classified as a water catchment area and disaster prone, and it resonates the narrative built by the local communities in 1980s that there was a landslide and it resulted in dozens of people of death during this time, and that's why it is incorporated to the RTRW, local RTRW, is as a way that it protects the area, but it was then ignored by the PSN project. And I want to quote the excerpt from the interviewee. It was from national decision maker, and how the government recognize the important or the special treatment of the PSN project, in which, for example, the excerpt is indeed it is by regulation. It means that by regulation it is protected, it is shielded by the regulation. Once designated as PSN, even if it is not yet included in the special plans or it is not yet in accordance with it, it will be adjusted later. The red carpet, it has already been designated as PSN. It means that even though the local special planning designates that certain location, for example, is disaster prone, but because of PSN, so it should be overlooked, and it is really red carpet. So it is a special project that everything should be overlooked due to this. For example, the government built the narrative that it is under public interest. And based on my analysis, that there are several instruments listed by FAITH, according to FAITH repressive developmentalist regime, economic growth, political repression, status, ideological theme, bureaucratization, and race stratification. I want to examine the first element of this concept, economic growth. For example, the introduction of PSN is not different from the fifth concept. It is intended to accelerate START project under MP3EI and implemented through legal instrument. It is legally justified on economic grounds, pursuing economic growth. Our government also use percepatan ekonomi, economic acceleration. And also the government justifies economic growth to accelerate the initiative in essence, where the decision making process also often justified under legal instrument. For example, presidents use legal instruments. Every legal instrument is accommodated, is accumulated, is concentrated to the president's power. That it reflects concentration of power in policy making, decision making, and it reinforces president centrality in the constitutional system. And the second one is the political repression. So many repression happens in PSN, not only in Wadas, for example, but also in some cases I already mentioned, for example, in Rempang, in Kertajati, and also in Kulon Progo. And for the issue in Wadas, for example, that there were two major resistance movements in which it involved security forces deployed tear gas, arrested 11 people in 2021, and also 68 people in 2022, and some of them farmers and also NGO activists to be beating, sticks, slaps, and trampling. This practice resonates with faith argument that states seeks to defeat remaining power centers of opposition. So in this case, that local community is often considered as opposition, as they are framed as to oppose the government project, and it is justified under the public interest, or also is justified under acceleration of economic growth. And also it reflects the excessive response through repression, that it strongly aligns with faith concept, as the excerpt of his paper argues that this regime do fear some group of workers and peasants. And the third one is that this ideological theme becomes the key legal narrative that this ideology is used as the tool to counter some repressions. For example, public interest doctrine itself, and also economic growth, and also the government use this narrative is on behalf of the community or on the behalf of the people's interests. So it aligns with the concept that faith argues that the task of the state is to achieve rapid development to overcome backwardness and catch up with the advanced countries. And the third one, the fourth one is bureaucratization. The government also places technocrats to ostensibly streamline the bureaucracy. For example, PSN itself is used ostensibly to streamline the bureaucracy. By example, the land acquisition process under the earlier project before PSN was stalled because of the agrarian conflict, but under the PSN it is streamlined into how every resistance is trampled, is countered by the government's legal instrument and use of force, so that the land acquisition process to be streamlined, to be accelerated, but at the expense of local communities' rights. And also, as Prof. Rina Aresji mentioned about FPIC, there is no FPIC under the PSN itself because we don't have the framework to ensure the FPIC is integrated with this, including how the consent is and participation is really considered during the location destination. So,
Mr. Balu?
can
Can you remind that we
yeah.
have 5 minutes more remaining, okay?
Okay. And also the local communities of often asking that we don't know that this project is established here. What we knew before that the government just to survey, and we don't know that later it is object of the mining project. And it means that this bureaucratization to some case is not merely as streamlining the bureaucracy itself, but it is also used as how the government want to facilitate a special land governance characterized by centralization, and it aligns with the concept. And the fifth one is re-stratification, while pursuing economic development. Essentially, the regime reshaping society by creating new political and economic elites. For instance, placing political business actors, including business politicians, as important actors, including so many generals often aligns with this project, protecting this project. And it is important how the role of political business aligns with this project, and not only in the widest case, but also it represents broader PSN case. So my key takeaway here is that as Warburton in 2016 posited that Indonesia's new development operates without a repressive institution, the PSN case suggests otherwise, that repressive institutions exist legally and in practice. So from the PSN case I already presented here, it informs the tendency toward authoritarian rule as lawmaking is concentrated in the presidency and without sufficient checks from other institutions. The PSN allows the framework to exclude local participation, and every resistance, objections, unable to halt development once the location is designated as the PSN and bureaucratically justified in the name of public interest, economic acceleration, economic stabilization, etc. So from this presentation, further research may be examined further how this practice revive the repressive tools of the new order and whether such continuity reflects authoritarian resurgence in post-reformation, or as argued by Hadis and Robinson in 2026, that published last month, that it is now we are entering into the end of reformation. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Bahrul, for the insightful presentation. We really appreciate your valuable insight. We'll now proceed to the question and answer session. If we have any question from the participant, you are welcome to raise your hand or type your question in the Zoom chat. All right, we have a question from Mr. Noor in the chat box. Would you like me to help you to read the question, Mr. Bahrul?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Question to Mr. Bahrul. What's your view on the civil society and indigenous communities movement to sue UU Cipta Kerja related to National Strategic Projects, PSN, at the Mahkamah Konstitusi? What is academic legal studies that law against the mandate of the Constitution? And maybe your opinion and advice to the discussion on RUU MHA that hasn't been passed yet. Right. May I welcome
thank
you to
Mas
respond?
Nurfianto for the question. The PSN itself is complex. The legal framework itself is initially regulated under president's regulations, but later under a lower tier regulation under ministerial regulations. And the key challenge is that PSN project is essentially cannot be challenged to the Constitutional Court because the legal instrument should be sued to the Supreme Court. But the problem is that Perpres PSN itself has not cited legislation, not derived to legislation. It is an independent regulation that only mention the basis of this Perpres is the power of president to have to issue the regulations. But the current judicial review in Constitutional Court is not directly to the PSN, but other instruments related to PSN. So what I want to argue here is that actually PSN is further representing authoritarian character because it is impossible to challenge PSN project under the court because it really cannot be challenged because it does not mention legislation. So even in the Supreme Court, it cannot be challenged because if president regulation to be challenged to Supreme Court, it should mention that it is mentioning legislation. So the basis of reviewing Perpres is that whether it aligns with legislation as deriving as the Perpres is derived from the current legislation. So it is quite complex, even though, for example, the government is challenged to the Constitutional Court, but it is just like some part of the PSN project to be reviewed by the Constitutional Court, but it does not represent the broader PSN project and other conflicting other project that has like to be a national attention and to be more complex, maybe the current project in Papua that it has also bring a serious challenge to land governance in Indonesia. So it is like the way that the government want to lock the way of it can be supervised by other institutions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bahrul. So Mr. Noor, I hope that answer your question. Okay, to ensure that we remain on schedule, we will only take that one question. If you have any additional question, participants, we will be pleased to welcome them during the general panel discussion at the end of all keynotes presentation. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Bahrul Ulum, for your thoughtful responses. Thank you also for the participant for asking. I think that sum up our session for your for this speaker. May we proceed to the next speaker? Okay, finally, we will hear from our sixth keynote speaker. Allow me to introduce Associate Professor Stephanie Ayuning Suwarlan. Professor Stephanie is the head of the Architecture Study Program at Universitas Internasional Batam. Her expertise includes architecture, urban design, human settlements, sustainable coastal settlements, socio-cultural studies, and cultural heritage preservations. Dr. Stephanie, you have 20 minutes for your presentation. Now the screen is yours.
Okay, thank you, Miss Honey. Is it my voice clear?
Yes, that's clear.
Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me as a keynote speaker for this conference. My appreciations also goes to the organizing committee and all distinguished speakers joining us today. And now allow me to begin my presentations with the title DPSIR Framework for Climate Resilience in Coastal Settlement. As coastal areas like in Batam, where we meet today, we are facing growing climate change, and I hope these frameworks offer useful insight and to how we can better understand and respond to the pressure for a more resilient future. So let's we begin. Next. Okay, next. Okay, about DPSIR framework for the climate resilience, the first one we need to know about what is climate change. I believe most of us already know well about this climate change, but let us to remind the climate change is. Climate change refer to long-term shift in temperature and weather patterns. Such shifts can be natural due to changes in the sun's activity or large volcanic eruptions. However, since the 1980s, human activities have been the main driver of climate change, primarily due to the burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas. So, under years, the climate change happens become the human activities, not regarding the natural only, but already changes become humans activities. And yes, it is because of us. And if we see the comparisons between 1976 until 2022 in the figure, the blue one is our weather describing as cold, and the red one is describing hot. And we can see in here that in the regarding more than hundreds decades, our worlds or our earths become hotter and become warmer. It is mean that right now or nowadays, the temperature, the average temperature of our Earth's surface is now about 1.44 degrees Celsius warmer than in the last 1980s years, and it is mean that our earth is getting hotter years by years. Okay, next. So what is the effect of this climate change? I tried to manage become the 10 effect of climate change. First one is the rising temperature. Climate change has brought an interconnected impact on ecosystem, human health, and the global economy. So the effect also happen in the sea level of rise due to the melting polar ice and oceans expansions threaten coastal area. We can imagine how if our earth uh, full with water because of the melting polar ice. It is very terrific, right? And that is the impact of the climate change. We also can know about the drought, change the ecosystem, extreme weather, sea level rise, wildfire, poor air quality, wildfires, health risks, poor air, and also economic impact. Why economic impacts can be threatened due to the climate change? Because we losses in various sector. We lose in the agriculture. We lost in the maritime supplies because this climate change, and also it's can affect the potential conflict due to the resource scarcities in water and land. Okay, next. So, uh, my frameworks today is for the climate resilience. What is the climate resilience? Climate resilience is the ability of the communities, ecosystem, and business to anticipate, prepare for, respond to, and recover from climate related hazards. It focuses on minimizing damage from events like flood, drought, and heat wave while adapting to long term environmental changes to maintain essential functions. This concept describes how well people or us as humans or ecosystem are prepared to the bounce back from the certain climate hazard events. In the formal definitions, this climate resilience is the capacity of social, economy, and ecosystem to cope with a hazardous events of trend or disturbance. So we can get the climate resilience for our environments and also for the human generations. Okay, next. This climate resilience combining the climate mitigations and climate adaptations. So, how we can combine the climate mitigations and climate adaptations regarding the climate resilience? I offer this DPSIR framework for the solutions. The DPSIR framework is an analytical framework used to systematically understand the relationship between human activities or social and environmental conditions. This framework is very popular in environmental studies, urban planning, and of course in climate resilience. This framework was developed by European Environment Agency in 1999 and has since been widely adopted by international organization for ecosystem in the various fields of the study such as biodiversity, soil erosions, groundwater depletions, landscape architecture and architecture itself, urban design planning and others. So, in essence, these frameworks like a cause effect chains to explain how an environmental problems occurs and how to handle it. So, DPSIR works is very simple. We analyze the human activity, put the pressures on that, changing the conditions, what is the cause impact, and then how human to respond. Okay, next. And the abbreviations for the PSIR frameworks. So it is make us easier to know about this framework from the abbreviations. So I will explain. The D is for driver. Driver mean the pusher, and P is the pressure. S is the state or the conditions. I is the impact, and R is the response of the human, our response. So DPSIR is more in analytical tool for understanding why problem occurs and how to solve them in environmental and social ecosystem. Why it is very important? Why this framework very important? Because DPSIR help understand problems systematically, connecting environment, social, and economy together, help create policies, adapting strategy, and widely used by global organizations. For example, like United Nations Environmental Program and other global organizations. Okay, next. So I will describe one by one detail about the components of the DPSIR frameworks. The D or the driver, as we mentioned before, is the pusher. These are the social, demographic, and the economic developments that influence human activities impacting the environment. Driver can be primary, for example, population growth or urban expansions, economic necessity. So the pusher or driver is the root of the problem. Then the P or the pressures is the human activities that put pressure on the environments. This is the actions that damage stress in the system. For example, resource exploitations, pollutions, and reclamation. So the pusher is the root of the problem, and the pressure is the actions, human actions that damage and making stress for the system. Okay, next. And the S means states or condition. This describes the physical, chemical, and biological conditions of the environments. For example, the water quality decreases, abrasions, ecosystem damage. It is more like the physical currents conditions of environments due to the pressure. So the pressure is the activity that praise the stress, and what the conditions is the current conditions of our environmental regarding the pressure. So this is the current status of the environments. The I or impacts of impact is the changing conditions of human and ecosystem. For example, like rough flood, home damage, decreased well-being, and others. So after we get the root, the pressure, the conditions, and the impact happened in our environments, like flood and damage. So are the real consequences. And next, for the last is the R. The R is the response. Response means the action taken to address the problem identified in the previous stage. Action to resolve the problem. And this is mean the solution or interventions from us as human to respond the problem that happened from the pressures until the impact. So, for example, is the government's policies. We can have community adaptations. We respond with technology or early warning system. Okay, next. So this is the Rio Island context from Batam for the example of the study cases. In Batam, we have vulnerability of coastal settlements. And these coastal settlements, we have about more than 30 coastal settlements, and Batam or Rio Island itself has more than 300 islands. So a lot of coastal settlement, a lot of islands. And most of them still dependence on local resources from maritime and also from sea supplies. So we can imagine how if this climate change impacted to the maritimes and also our island, our sea supplies. It is very high impact for Batam or for coastal settlements society. So this framework particularly help for for increasing coastal settlements in Batam itself. Okay, next. I will make it fast. So, in case of coastal settlement in Rio Islands, we have some cases in here. Before I tried to invite you to look to the figure. Some of the coastal settlement in Rio Island or Batam, we can see in here Batu Merah coastal settlements have house damage or building damage. Bulu Island coastal settlements very close to the sea, and Tanjung Sao Island coastal settlement also very close to the sea. So, what is the driver in coastal settlement in Rio Islands? The driver is climate change and urbanizations, because we know that Batam is industrial city. So a lot of people come to Batam to finding a new job, a good salary in the industry. So, and then the pressure is coastal exploitations and developments, because the the urban growth will be elongated with the developments to fulfill the needs of the settlements, right? And then the state means coastal environmental degradations that we already see in the figure. The impact is flood, abrasion, social vulnerability, house damage or building damage. And also, what is our response? We can respond from the mangrove planting and also from the technology by early warning system technology. Okay, next. So this is for one of the example. I try give one example in Buluh Island coastal settlement. We have another example. The Buluh Island is the small island in the Riau Island near Batam Island, and they in these islands are in these settlements facing rising sea level, extreme weather event, and ecological degradations. We can see in here like hazard map, vulnerability map, and risk map have a red mark. This red mark means the high risk, very high risk of sea level, rising sea level, extreme weather event, and ecological degradations. We made it from GIS map, so an analysis and get this hazard, vulnerability, and risk map. And the proof is from our figures also. When we investigate to the Bulu coastal settlements, we can see that the conditions are facing this damage. And yes, it is because the climate change, and this is climate risk for the Bulu Island. Okay, next. Okay, this is the framework that my teams and I try to build for resilience, the coastal settlements regarding the climate change. We have a response because we already understand, right, from the driver, pressure, stage, and the impact. So we try to respond regarding this framework with adaptive strategy. We have 10 adaptive strategies to resilience the coastal settlements. Number one is early warning system. adaptive habitations, accommodative adaptation, protective adaptations. Number 5, government physical assistance. And we also have job availability, climate patterns knowledge, ecological conservation, sense of community, and permanent habitations. Actually, we have a long story to describe this one by one but we limited time, so I will manage the conclusions that community collaborations and engagement is very important because the sustainable collaborations with local communities is crucial for successful adaptation strategies. Ensuring that indigenous knowledge and practice are integrated into formal disaster management policies. And also the social ecological understanding is very important for us right now because from understanding the local social ecological conditions, it, uh, it can effective develop adaptation strategy and ensuring that the interventions are culturally appropriate and environmentally sustainable for our coastal settlements. Okay, next. Okay, the last but not least, the next step for the implementations is we have three steps for our uh, response. The first one is integrate indigenous knowledge. The policymakers must prioritize the incorporations of indigenous knowledge into adaptation strategies, ensuring that local practices are respected and utilized for effective climate resilience. I believe all of our policymakers have a good knowledge about the effective climate resilience policy. However, uh, the indigenous knowledge also have a power for the policy to for effective policy for the climate resilience. So we need to combining from the modern knowledge and also indigenous knowledge and invest in early warning system. So the technology needs to manage need to invest in early warning system technology, and this is very crucial as they enhance community preparedness and response to climate-related disaster. And this early warning system or this technology can potentially reducing vulnerability by up to 30%. And the last is foster local collaborations. Collaborations between local governments and community can significantly enhance resilience efforts, creating a unified approach to disaster risk management and resource allocations. So, from these results, I try to deliver how we can respond our climate change to resilience our environments by DPSIR frameworks and the step for implementations. Okay, next, I think this is the last slide and my time is up, correct?
Yes, Tata.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for the attentions, and I hope we can have further discussions after this presentation or after this conference, and I'm very open to the future discussions. Thank you, Miss Hani.
All right, thank you very much, Associate Professor Stephanie Ayuning Suwarlan, for your insightful presentation. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the end of all keynote presentation. We will now proceed to our final question and answer session. In this session, you are welcome to ask question either to Associate Professor Stephanie or to any of our distinguished keynote speakers. If your question relates to today's discussion more broadly, you are also welcome to address it to the entire panel. And before asking your question, kindly introduce yourself by mentioning your name and institution, followed by your question. Please also indicate whether your question is directed to a specific keynote speaker or to the panel as a whole. You may either raise your hand and to ask your question directly or type your question in the Zoom chat. The floor is now open. All right, we got one question here from the YouTube Live. It's addressed to Mr. Bahrul. Would you like me to help you to read the question, Mr. Bahrul?
Yeah, sure. I
sent it in the
see
Zoom chat. Yeah, as you are currently studying in Australia, what are the main differences between Australia and Indonesia in implementing strategic projects, particularly in terms of the legal framework and implementation? May I invite you to respond to this question?
Yeah. Actually, in Australia, I study Indonesian law. I want to hello. Can you hear my voice?
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, in Indonesia, in Australia, I study about Indonesian law and particularly mostly about law in the global south, because the characteristic of law in developed countries and developing countries are really, really different, and it is not comparable each other. So I don't study about Australian legal system too much about this. But as I discussed with my supervisor regarding the land governance in Indonesia and Australia in concise, and they thought that Indonesia and Australia is incomparable to discuss, because, for example, human rights in Australia and in Indonesia different in how the government see human rights itself, and human rights is stronger incorporated to the legal system, including in land governance, including in how, for example, and in FPIC. And when I inform how the interview data, I already gathered that legally and socio-legally that consent is not really considered to to decision making during the land acquisition process. And my supervisor think that it is likely not comparable to discuss. So I cannot give the exact analysis to this, because I already since in my first semester, because these two countries has different legal system, also the different perspectives on how they see law and the governance itself. But maybe Prof. Rina has the different perspective to answer about this. Particularly, Prof. Rina also deals with business and human rights and governance, and Prof. Rina also study in Australia. Maybe like alternative dispute resolution has related each other in how business, particularly in not in a broader land governance, but in the broader business and human rights issue, in how the government, maybe Australian government, incorporate further, and how make a comparison each other.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. You want me to respond to that?
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
thank you. All
Yes,
right.
we study in the same
Okay. So
city.
I did my master's and PhD in comparative law.
Yeah.
Australian and Indonesian law.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. That Brother Muhammad that Muhammad said that it's actually very different legal systems, because Australia is a common law systems, whereas Indonesia is a civil law systems. But when we talk about human rights, because it's very wide and is applicable to any states, because Australia itself is part of the international community, and Australia ratifies a number of human rights legal instruments, and also Australia comply with the UNGP, and there is also UNGCs in Australia. But when we talk in particular about land, it reminds me probably the Muhammad Bahrul also remember about the native land, the indigenous people of Australia, the Torres people, the Aborigines. Long time before the white people coming to Australia, the land is not empty. There were people living there. There were the Torres Island people. There were the Aborigines people living there. But because of the politics of the white politics at that time, and then they take over, okay, and in the name of the colonization, saying that the land is actually empty. But then the people of the Torres Island and the Aborigines of Australia voice up their mind, and then Alhamdulillah, they're lucky because they're granted by the Supreme Court, the High Court of Australia. They got that title, But and we talk about the PSN, yeah. There is also the national strategic, but it's quite different for our PSN, Our PSN is simply because like the authoritarian, framework, because the government, in this case the executive, the president, simply throw all the perpres and then start to regulate all this PSN, and then that's why it's very difficult to challenge in the court, to challenge to the constitutional court or even to the Supreme Court, because we have to link it with the law. I think this is quite tricky. So that's why we have to link it with what law is violated, and then that's the way we try to challenge this PSN. But if you talk about the PSN, I didn't really study about the PSN in Australia. I mean, I'm the strategic or the investment, how the Australian government trying to gather the investors coming to Australia, whether it's also sacrifice the land of the people. But the thing is, like, when we talk after the Paulun Henson, I think Bahrul knows that Paulun Henson because she's quite, discriminated among to the indigenous people, and then the colored people. So the Australian changes their perspective, saying that, well, the investors can come in if they fulfill what the UNGPs, the UNGPs principles, and then whether they have what they call it due diligence. There's so many testing in order to set up the investors of the FDI, of foreign direct investment coming to Australia. They say that there are many things that they have to check, in particular because Australia is very clear with the ESG, environmental, socials, and then governance. So that's the Australian probably is quite ahead of us because in terms of looking at how the correlation between the business and human rights. But in terms of the PSN, unfortunately, I didn't also focus in Australia in particular because there are many legal issues in Australia that we have to dig up if we would like to check with the strategic development strategy of Australia. So that's what I can respond to in the question.
All right, thank you, Prof. Rina and Mr. Bahrul for the response. I hope that answered Jocelyn's question. All right, I think, okay, we got another question from Chris. Right, I will help you to read this. Hello, my name is Christian Nombu from Universitas International Batam. This question is for Dr. Nur Ezan or Prof. Rina. What is the biggest challenge in implementing ADR in developing countries such as Indonesia? Is it possible to adapt such system in Indonesia, especially when it comes to the concern about cybersecurity and data protection? May I invite Dr. Ezan or Prof. Rina to respond to this question? I think I will invite Prof. Rina first to respond to this question.
All right, okay. Because is Professor Nur is there? No, she's not with us at the moment. How? If it's then not, and then I will respond to these questions. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Nur Laili, and then the students who represent her. It's actually, if we talk about alternative dispute resolutions, and then how the alternative dispute resolution, just give one about mediation, because there are many types of alternative dispute resolutions. We talk about negotiation, we talk mediation, conciliation, and also arbitration. So which of ADR we are focusing on? So let me just put it in mediation. We have online mediation at the moment. Indonesia has also adopted online mediation, and then also for the business, context. Okay, online mediation becomes booming at the moment, and then a lot of parties prefer to use the online mediation rather than use it like offline mediations. Okay, because it's cheaper, and then they can also connect with other parties, disputing parties from different countries. The thing is about the data protection. Okay, the things about the data protection and cybersecurity. You worried. Your concern is about whether that the process or the result of that will leak to the public or to the other parties, which is not the disputing parties in that context. So data protection, if we talk about mediation and arbitration, is protected somehow, okay? Because in arbitration in particular, we have what we call it party autonomy. So the parties, they have the autonomy to set what sort of rules and what sort of documents they would like to present, and how is the proceeding is going on in the arbitrations. Okay, it's quite similar to the mediation. Even there's a mediator who try to facilitate the disputing parties in order to come to the consensus, or they give their consensus or compromises relating to the issues. But the worries about the leak of data, personal data, and how is really the data is protected. Again, it's about the infrastructure. How strong is our infrastructure looking at that? Indonesia has already come to that and apply that, but still, okay, there's somehow we are worried about there's some along the way, okay, that would be the leak of the data, because even our satu data in health issues is a very strong already in our health ministry, but it's also infiltrated by the hackers. But the thing is that if you want to go to the international online ODR, online dispute resolutions, we have to understand the infrastructure. We have to know how strong is our infrastructure and how good is the management of the infrastructure. And then if there is a leak of data in that process, and then who's going to be responsible for that? So this is also quite a concern. So that's why, especially in Indonesia, we allow for the mediation, but not while writing the consensus, the agreement between the disputing parties, not while drafting it, but also we look at it for the arbitration. The arbitration, because it's very confidential, and then it's only the disputing parties can, present, okay, without other parties during the proceedings and until the decision of the arbitrators, in that particular context. So yeah, still about, some concerns about that. Okay, that's my response to it.
All right. Thank you, Professor Rina, for the insightful responses. I hope that answers Christian's question. Okay. All right. I think there's no more question at this moment.
Excuse me, may I have a question to Ibu Stefani? This is funny. Yeah, I'm always interested in empirical research because I'm a human rights activist. So, yeah, okay. So, Ibu Stefani, can you please tell me what is the response, or what is the indigenous knowledge from the Bulu, coastal community there, in order for them to become resilient? Because you give us the framework, and then you come to the community, you ask them, and what sort of indigenous knowledge that they have, in order to enrich the framework. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Rina.
Yeah.
Okay, one of the indigenous knowledge of the traditional coastal settlements such as Bulu Islands and also Batu Merah and others traditional coastal settlements community. First is about the knowledge about the star Rasi Bintang. Like we can see about Rasi Bintang is what is in English Rasi Bintang. star race, or what we call it, rasi bintang. Okay, so this knowledge is like they know about the positions of stars. When stars makes one of the form, it's can signing for them that, oh, it will be have north wind. North wind mean like high tides of sea. So the people will be not allowed or forbidden to go sailing to the sea in this signing of the stars. And the others, they also know about where is the positions of the stars that describing the south wind. So if the stars already have the positions and make some shape that signing as the south wind, so it is the sign for the traditional communities. We have the low tides, so the people can going to the sea, and it is very safe for them, and they can going to fishing, swimming, and others uh, uh, to the sea and to the oceans. So one of the traditional ecological knowledge is like astrological science or rasi bintang itself, and also got another traditional knowledge. So if we can combining our modern technology and also this astrological traditional knowledge, it can be very beneficial for the traditional community to prepare about the disaster that or the climate resilient climate change that will be coming, and then it can resilience for them for the early warning systems. Maybe it's I can explain for the creations.
Thank you so much, Ibu Stefani. Interesting.
All right. I hope that answer your question, Prof. Rina. Okay, one more. I think this will be the last final question. There is a question from Aza. This question is especially for Prof. Andri regarding to the presentation. As I would like to ask, do you think AI will play a greater role in future transport governance beyond monitoring and traffic management, especially in Indonesia traffic and road? May I invite Prof. Andri to answer this question, please?
Thank you so much. It's a good question. If we talk about artificial intelligence, can spread with the data mining, database, big data, and the other basis data, another basis data. If talk about artificial intelligence, it's only tools, latest concept in engineering. The governance and government cannot running the artificial intelligence without the good data, without the complete data. Artificial intelligence will conduct and will running only in concept. But if we want to build and develop artificial intelligence in accountable governance, I think the first thing is how to make sure in data play and complete and good data based on science. Myself not sure data like in traffic, data in vehicle, data in traffic behavior until now is never fixed. It's the problem. But about how the technology, about how the artificial intelligence, I think is ready to running. But the data, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But for the pilot project, we can to running in the big city. What I saw the latest presentation, like the Surabaya, the Surabaya city ready running in ITS more than 20 years. Jakarta is the running Transjakarta with the good data, I think it's 20 years. But if talk about the another city in in Indonesia, I'm not sure how many people walk in every day, how many vehicle passing in the one's road, or how many truck with overdimension, overload in the days in the one toll road. I'm not sure about that. But for the next concept, next implementation, I'm sure the Indonesia make being good in the transportation technology. That's all I think. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Prof. Andri. I hope that answer your question, Aiza. All right. If there's no more question, I think, ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of our plenary session. It has been a privilege to learn from our distinguished keynote speaker and to witness such engaging discussion throughout this session. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to express our
Miss Hani.
Yes, Prof.
I think it's the good time to discuss with Prof. Rina about the transportation and human right. Can Mr. Prof. Rina, how can public transportation be understood as a basic human rights, and what responsibilities does the government have to ensure equal access to public services for all citizens? Because public transport in the imagine of the people imagine is not human right, but it's like the choice. Please to explain about the human right and public transportation. Thank you.
All right, may I invite Prof. Rina to respond to the question of Prof. Andri.
Okay, thank you so much, Mandri. I think it's even better if you come to Batam and we discuss it face to face. Okay, right. Okay, but at the moment I can say that human rights, we can see it from different angles. Okay, for example, right to health. Okay, so if we try to look at it from the transportations, okay, and right to health, okay, meaning like the people, okay, the citizens, in particular the Indonesia, has the right for fresh air, not polluted air. So it also can link to the transportation. Okay, and then we can also link it with the rights, the rights of the women and children, because there is a special rights given to women and children. But now our transportation, but sometimes in Jakarta is already for the train, yeah, they have their special platform from the women, but for the others sometimes the children cannot have special places, the rights of the disabilities. This is one of my critique to transport of Indonesia. Terrible, compared to Japan, because there's no special platform for disabilities. There's no special special equipment for disabilities to go to the bus stations, things like that, or to the bus. Okay, but it's very different in Jakarta. Japan, in Tokyo. If I saw them, they have the special ramp, and then they have the special tools for the wheelchair people to go to the train. So there's so many rights. There are many things that we can, criticize about, the moment, the transportation of Indonesia at the moment from the aspects of human rights. That's my response. Very quick response to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you.
Right. I hope that answer Prof. Andre's question. Thank you, Prof. Rina. I hope that will be the final question of our session because we actually ran out of time. Right. Please allow me to close this plenary session, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to all keynote speakers, participants, and everyone who has contributed to today's successful session. Thank you for your active participation, thoughtful question, and enthusiasm. It has truly been my pleasure to serve as your moderator. I will now hand the session back to our Master of Ceremony for the presentation of appreciation certificates and the closing ceremony. To the group, please. Thank you very much, and I wish you all a pleasant and productive day ahead.
Okay, thank you very much to our moderator, Ms. Hani, and all distinguished speakers for the engaging presentation and insightful discussion throughout today's plenary session. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed to the presentation of appreciation certificate as a token of our sincere appreciation to our distinguished speakers for their valuable contribution to the 6th CoNeScINTech 2026. Allow me to announce each recipient of the certificate of appreciation. The first certificate of appreciation is presented to Associate Professor Dr. Nur Ezan Rahmat. Although Associate Professor Dr. Nur Ezan Rahmat has already left the meeting due to other professional commitments, we would like to express our sincere appreciation for her valuable contribution to today's conference. The second certificate of appreciation is presented to Professor Dr. Insinyur Andri Irfan Rifai. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Prof. Next, the third certificate of appreciation is presented to Professor Dr. Dewa Gede Sudika Mangku. Although Professor Dewa Gede Sudika Mangku was unable to join us live today, we sincerely appreciate his thoughtful contribution through his pre-recorded presentation. Thank you for sharing your expertise with us. The fourth certificate of appreciation is presented to Professor Rina Sahriani Shahrullah. Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Okay. The fifth certificate of appreciation is presented to Mr. Muhammad Bahrul Ulum. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. The sixth certificate of appreciation is presented to Associate Professor Stephanie Ayuning Suarlan. Okay, thank you. In addition, we would like also to express our sincere appreciation to our moderator for her excellent guidance throughout today's plenary session. The certificate of appreciation is presented to Ms. Hani Yahdillah. Okay, congratulations to all of our distinguished speaker and our respected moderator. Thank you once again for your invaluable contribution to the success of the 6th CoNeScINTech 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving our distinguished speakers and moderator a warm virtual round of applause. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have now arrived at the closing ceremony of the 6th CoNeScINTech 2026. One of the most anticipated moments of today's conference is the announcements of the awards, such as Best Paper Award, Best Poster Award, Most Critical Analysis Awards, Most Innovative Poster Design Award, and Honorable Mention Awards. Based on the evaluation conducted by the committee, the awards are as follows. Congratulations on best paper for Mirza Husna Hadira binti Mokhtar, Syuhada Alia binti Faisal Bakri, Irmaizatu Sheikh Dani Bunyamin, Nur Aisyah binti Muhammad Makhatar, Aida Fazlila binti Mat Fazil for the paper entitled Evolution of Structural Stability and Morphological Studies of Neodymium Spinal Catheters for Lithium-ion Batteries. And for the second base paper, for Saiful Anas Aklani, Halizah binti Baziron, and Sek Yongwi. And the third base paper goes to Anggi Widya Stuti, Henny Utari Setyaningrum, Zerin Destiva Pasar Ramadhani, Triana Dewi Seroja. Congratulations once again. Now, we're going to the most critical analysis. Congratulations to Syuhada Alia binti Faizul Bakri, Mirza Husna Hadira binti Mokhtar, Irmaizus Tesya Dani Bunyamin, Nur Asya bin Mahtahatar, Aida Fazliza bin Mufadzli, and the second for Stefanus Eko Prasetyo, Gautama Wijaya, Radian Simanjuntak, and the third goes to Muhammad Fitrian Ramadan, Rizky Ananda, Raffi Ramadhani Bunga, Stefani Ayuning Suwaran, Nur Fadila Fatan, and Latifa Nur Syamsu. Congratulations once again. Now, we're going to the next one, Best Poster. Congratulations to Syuhada Alia binti Faisal Bakri, Mirza Husna Hadira binti Mukhtar, Irmaizus Tesya Dani Bunyamin, Nur Aisyah binti Mahatar, Aida Fazlia binti Fazli, Danis Hakim Anwar Fizwan Izadi Azmi, Nuha Alhani Azarar, Muhammad Hilman Nabil Fakhrul Izam, Nur Alia Aisyah Mat Khalid. And the third goes to Alvito Indra Pratama, M. Agasya Faras, Rizky Dwi Pratama, Tiffany Ayumi Suwarlan, and Nur Fadila Fatan. Okay. Next is for Most Innovative Poster Design. Congratulations to Hana Alfiona, Win Shirley Khan. The second goes to David Greasi Giovanni, Dewa Gede Sudika Mangkuni Puturai Yuliartini. And the third one goes to Leo Syaputra, Muhammad Fadli Musodik, Muhammad Ahyar, Muhammad Rido Wirajaya, Stefani Ayuning Suwarlan, Gladys Imanda Rungkuti. And for the best video presentation, congratulations to Nur Alia Aisyah Mat Khalid, Izwan Izadi bin Azmi, Muhammad Hilman Nabil Fakhrul Nizam, Danish Hakim Kamarul Anwar, Nuha Alhani Azharar. Second goes to Rudiani Ang, Yodinsa, Sherin Jenitria, Shirley, Tiffany Ayuning Suwarlan, Hendro Mutiono. And the third goes to Muhammad Hilman Nabil bin Fakhrul Izam, Izwan Izadi bin Azmi, Nur Alia Aisyah binti Mat Khalid, Danish Hakim bin Kamarul Anwar, Nuha Alhani binti Azhara. Honorable mention for Muhammad Hilman Nabil bin Fahrul Nizam, Izwan Izadi bin Azmi, Nur Alia Aisyah binti Mat Khalid, Danis Hakim bin Kamarul Anwar, Nuha Alhani binti Azarar, Syaiful Anas Aklani, Haliza binti Baziron, Sok Sek Yongwi, Vanessa Dara Safina, Agustianto, Nur Alea Aisyah Mat Khalid, Izwan Izadi bin Azmi, Muhammad Hilman Nabil Fakhrul Nizam, Danis Hakim Kamarul Anwar, Nuha Alhani Al-Zahrar, and the last one for Heru Wijayanto Ari Pradono, Suryata Cahayadi, Indah Sari Dew, Niputurai Yuliartini, Dewa Gede Sudika Pangku, Gede Sariasa, Kadek Wiwin Asita Dewi, Suwarno, Leon Agustian Salim, Tony Wibowo, Gabriel Karim Omar, Muhammad Ilham Ashidik Tresnawan, Andik Yulianto, Ersa, Emilia Febriani, Naufal Fadila Akbar, Azizatul Maliha, Tonio Gading Pariwa, Marcel, Tiffany Ayunin Suwatan, Latifah Nur Syamsul. Okay, congratulations to all our recipients. Your dedication, innovation, and outstanding contribution are truly commendable. Ladies and gentlemen, before we officially conclude today's conference, allow me to express our deepest appreciation to all distinguished speakers, moderator, presenters, participants, partners, and community members for your valuable contribution to the 6th CoNScINTech 2026 Conference on Business, Social Science, and Technology. To our honorable lecturer, distinguished speakers, and respected guests, we sincerely thank you for your presence and continued support throughout this conference. With the highest respect, you are now welcome to leave the Zoom meeting at your convenience. To all participants, we hope today's discussion have inspired new ideas, strengthened academic collaboration, and encouraged impactful research for a more sustainable and inclusive future. Before we officially close today's event, we will proceed with the final documentation. May I kindly invite everyone to turn on your cameras once again and smile for the documentation. Okay, I will guide for the last documentation. Open the camera and smile. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Another one. Open your camera and smile. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Thank you. On behalf of Universitas Internasional Batam, I officially declare the 6th CoNScINTech 2026 closed. Thank you very much for your participation. Have a safe day, stay healthy, and we look forward to welcoming you again at our future conferences. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you.
And also for all the registered participant on certificasi.uib.ac.id, please find the token in the Zoom chat attached here to claim your participation certificate, and also shown on the chat.